Hello, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's conversation with Florida Southern College Women's Lacrosse. My name is Mike Moran. I'm an assistant athletic director here at the college, and I'll be the MC tonight. So you're stuck with me for about 45 minutes, I guess. I want to thank tonight's sponsor. We have a different sponsor for each event, and tonight's is NFocus Studios. Where NFocus Studios, their goal is to deliver a message that brands your company in a positive light and drives business to your door. No matter the concept or size, the NFocus team approaches each creative project with inspired thinking and a business strategy to ensure smooth, effective campaigns that are delivered to every client. So we can't do these without our partners. So thank you to NFocus. I want to do a couple of quick introductions. Al Green, he is going to be basically in charge of our chat and questions and answering. So if you have any questions throughout the night, just throw them in the chat or questions and answers, and Al will get to them. He may not get to them right away because if he notices that the questions are going to come from me as well later on, he's just going to kind of skip by it and let me cover it. So that's that. I know our athletic director somewhere here. He's not, you can't see him, but Drew Howard, I want to thank him for everything he does to support us. And without further ado, I want to just bring one quick note. This is for Florida Southern Women's Lacrosse tonight. There's a lot going on through the college and the world, but we just want to focus tonight on women's lacrosse. We want to talk about it, get some energy going. We're looking forward to the upcoming season. So we want to hear from Coach Reber and Coach Richardson and how they have tried to prepare their team for the upcoming season. So without any other nonsense for me, I'm going to introduce Coach Reber. Coach Reber has been our only lacrosse coach for the women's team. Since 2012, when the team started, Kara's been here. And let's just talk, and I'm just going to go outside the box a little bit. Kara, since 2012, the team has won a national title in 2016. Okay. She has been runner-up twice in 17 and 18. And according to my notes, and we looked it up, we're the first team outside of the states of Massachusetts, New York, and Pennsylvania to win a women's lacrosse national championship, Florida. So I think that has something to be said. Coach Reber was named the NCAA Division II Coach of the Year by both Inside Lacrosse and IWLCA, quite an accomplishment. So without that, welcome, Kara. And can you want to introduce Katy for us and let Katy give a little bit of an introduction?
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Happy to be on here. Excited to introduce Katy as one of our assistant coaches for our program. She is such a help to us. And while she is a part-time assistant for us, she certainly puts forth a full-time effort. And she has a national championship under her belt as a player. Has experience having won a national championship, but also having experience playing at the Division I level. So brings us a lot of experience on different levels of lacrosse and insight. So Katy, go ahead and fill everybody else in if there's anything I missed that you feel people should know.
I think you covered it. I played around in college for 2 different schools, and since then I've been working in the travel lacrosse space for this December will be 10 years. And this is my second season with Florida Southern. Excited to be here.
Great, thanks guys. I also want to let everybody know, please do not forget about the Women's Lacrosse Booster Club. It's one of the primary functioning fundraising arms for the program. It helps provide some additional scholarships and support for the program. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us in the chat or questions and answering, or you can email either one of the coaches and ask for more information. So it always helps the program to hear from the alumni and other people. So first question, I'm just going to throw it out there, Coach. It's the question I've asked on a number of different Zooms with different teams, and it's always an interesting answer. Last season, it's a disaster. Okay, your team is progressing. You're winning some big games. and you get the word that the season's going to be over. How did you inform your student athletes, and how did they take it?
Well, I think it was almost an awkward time to figure out whether we were going on or not going on. So it was really difficult while we were at practice trying to find out if we were going to have an answer while we were all together. Couldn't quite get that answer before practice had ended. I think that our team had just turned a corner where we were really in the groove and really connecting chemistry-wise. Saw us turn that corner and head towards where I thought, we could pursue that national championship again. We had 12 seniors on our team last year who were there right after we had won the national championship. So they definitely had a lot of passion and desire to make sure that they were doing that for our program as well. So, really heartbreaking for those guys to not be able to finish out their season on what could have been. So that was difficult. We tried our best to try to get in a senior day. We're hopeful to have one more game before everything got canceled. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. We kind of did a makeshift senior day at one of the houses that one of our players lives in right nearby, and did an announcement as if we were doing senior day, and everybody walked down with whomever's parents were here or their best friend, presented them with their jerseys and their senior gifts and all of that. So we tried to make the best of a not so great situation. So we are super fortunate for the time that we had with everybody, but obviously, like everybody else in the country, disappointed that we couldn't really see the end to the season that we wanted.
Yeah, you mentioned it, so I'll follow up with this. You mentioned about the seniors. Most people probably know, but I'll reiterate it, that the NCAA allowed the student athletes to get their year of eligibility back. How many seniors do you have coming back for this year?
We have half.
That were on your team last year.
Yeah, we have half of our seniors are back. And so a lot of them had already had graduate schools where they were accepted into and going to pursue. One of our players got a job at Estee Lauder. You were like, you can't deny her from going to that. So we had a lot of people who already had things lined up, but we are fortunate enough to have half of them back this year.
Great, and that should add to a big class. Do you have? Let's talk about your outlook for this year with those 6 returning seniors and everybody else that kept their eligibility, and your incoming senior class, freshman class. I'm sure you have quite a group coming in. How does your season? What's the outlook for them?
Well, to be honest, Mike, my outlook is, are we going to have games, right? Like, that's what we're all sitting here hoping and praying for, that the outlook is to have a season. I think beyond, obviously we want to win and we want to pursue a national championship, but I think more than anything, the girls just want to play again. And so that's really where our focus is. We have a tremendous amount of hopeful players, resilient players, and people who are hanging in and doing their best so that we can make it to the spring, because that's the ultimate goal, is everybody's healthy and safe and we can come together and be a team again come spring season.
You brought up a good point about being a team again. And for people that don't know, not every student athlete is back on Florida Southern's campus. So the teams that are practicing, like women's lacrosse, they do not have everybody present. Kara, is that true? You do not have your whole team back right now?
That's correct. Yeah, we are missing about 8 of our players. Now, mind you, I don't feel like they're missing a ton of that stuff right now for kind of the phase that we're in for practicing and stuff. We do Wednesday night Zoom with everybody where we do yoga. And so it's great that we can see all of our remote learners, people who aren't on campus. We can see them and chat with them every Wednesday night when we do team yoga.
And that was going to be another one of my questions. With this different outlook, some kids here, some student athletes not here, some commuting from short distances, How do you keep your team engaged, especially the team members that are not here? How do you, without making them feel bad, how do you, keep them in the loop of what and keeping them involved? How do you do that?
Well, I think in general, the good thing about our program is I'm never one who is all in their space, right? And I'm not entertaining them 24/7. And in summer, like they have their space in the summer and they can be them. And, we'll touch base every once in a while. And same thing, Christmas break, whatever. So I don't think it's, that far off that, we might we touch base once a week, and that's probably more than we'll touch base over the summer. And so even throughout the recruiting process, like as much as they want contact with me, they can have contact with me. So it doesn't quite, we're not missed that much, right? And those kids who, even when they're on campus, those who want more contact with me, they come in the office. Other kids show up to practice. So, we still meet and chat, and I try to FaceTime with those that are not always here. We tried to, we had them do a scavenger hunt around town last Friday with a couple of their teammates. So, just some fun little things here and there that we can feel like everybody's included.
Gotcha. That brings up another topic. When I started here about a year and 4 months ago, I noticed right away that your team was heavily involved in community service. Can you let us know why that is? And is it a passion of yours? Is it your team members that love it? Why are you guys so involved in the community?
I think when I first started to make community service an important aspect of our program is because when I first started coaching, you've got some players who are phenomenal athletes and they're fantastic on the field. But then you have some who maybe aren't as great on the field, but you go and do community service and they are rock stars at that. And so there's these different aspects where everybody can be the best that they are at something that's different. So you might take, our third string defender who won't see the field a lot, but she's also a leader out in the community because she's pulling people to be engaged and stuff. I just remember going to a nursing home one time and some of our best players were like terrified to talk to old people. Some of our girls who didn't play as much were fully comfortable and felt really good and it was easy for them. So they were able to kind of bring in those people that were uncomfortable, which is exactly what we look for on the field for those players that are comfortable to bring in those other players that aren't quite as comfortable. So that's kind of how it got started. And we just kind of continue to do things that are important to our team, which they find important. I know like Night to Shine is one thing our team hands down is their favorite community service. And they continue to stay involved with that organization once a month as well. But if something important comes up where we've, fundraised money for ALS or we fundraise money for breast cancer or suicide awareness, those types of things, we'll hop in and take on anything that is important for our players.
Gotcha. Jump over to Katy. Give Kara a break for a second. Katy, you mentioned you played at 2 other lacrosse colleges and then you came here. What led you to Florida Southern and why did you pick Florida Southern to start your coaching career?
Absolutely. So like I said, I've been coaching on the club side for almost 10 years now. Since I was in college, I started interning with the club team that I currently work for as well while I was in college. And one of the things that I noticed is you don't see people who start programs stay there for the amount of time that Coach Kara has been here at Florida Southern. You often see people start programs and use it as a stepping stone onto something else. They want to get success and then they want to go D1, or they get some success or they want to go to a bigger school. And it was something that as a player I noticed because the program was starting as I was doing my college search, was I watched her take a brand new team and turn it into a national championship team over the course of the time while I was in college. And that was something that I really admired, because that's doing a lot with a little, you know, that's doing a lot with resources that you don't have. We're not in the middle of Long Island where every single kid you walk into is a lacrosse player and has had a stick in their hand since they were 2 years old. The players, you know, in Florida, in the local vicinity, have not necessarily had that experience. So she had to recruit that caliber of kid, train that caliber of kid, and then teach them how to be a part of a team, which, you know, I'm pretty sure when I was interviewing for the position, I said, I want to know what your secret sauce is. I want to know how you did this and took what was nothing and turned it into the best team in the country, because that is something, you know, I within the other club I work for, we have about 10, 11 teams. You see some teams that go on to do amazing things, and you see some teams that kind of fall flat of where your expectations are for them. And one of the things I admired most about Coach was she took something where expectations were not insanely high. No one expects a brand new program to be in the Final Four in a matter of years. They expect it to take growing time. They expect those growing pains to be there. And she did the unexpected. But when you look at what goes on behind the scenes, the amount of effort that goes into planning practices, the amount of effort that goes into working on individuals with players, the amount of time and thought that goes into developing our recruiting ideas and what we need to bring in the future to be successful, the secret sauce isn't so secret. It's just the work that a lot of places may not be willing to do.
Great quote. Great answer. Go ahead.
Wow, Katy, I didn't even have to pay you to say all that. That was awesome.
I know, that was great. And it also leads us into the follow-up question off of Katy's comments, was that in 2016, you won the national championship. The program was 4 years old. Tell us how you did that. 5 years old. Tell us how you did that. How did that happen?
I think there's a couple factors, but I have to hands down give credit to the kids who started the program. Like, our national championship does not happen in 2016 if it's not for the kids that came before that. We had kids who our first commits, our biggest commits, our very first year, Megan Asper, Lori Hoover, Kate Chase, Hammer, like those girls coming to a brand new program without knowing what we were going to do and just really wanting to come to the Florida sunshine. Those players, as well as the players that were on campus who joined our program because they wanted to be a part of something, hands down, the inaugural team had everything to do with why we were at the national championship 5 years later. Them and their parents and the culture that they started and created, the commitment that they gave, that passion, that dedication. I know for them, they fell short of what they wanted to achieve, but I give them all the credit in the world to why we were able to be successful in year 5.
Great, thanks, Coach. You mentioned something, I think it's leading into the answer of this question, but beginning a program, not much is known about Florida Southern College women's lacrosse. How did you recruit people from all over the country to come to Florida Southern College in Lakeland to play women's lacrosse? How do you continue to do that? I think the question gets a little easier if you win, but in the beginning, how did you do that?
I think having been a head coach elsewhere, you have your base on who you know and where, the programs are and where the talent is. Getting people to campus, that's definitely a huge step. I remember one of our first commits the first year. I mean, she came down and it was our first clinic. It was, to me, it was horrible because it wasn't Florida. It was cloudy, it was drizzling rain, and to me, it was cold. It was not blue skies, sunshines, but to them, it was warm. It was January. They could wear their shorts and their pennies to the clinic. So I was terrified. I was like, we're never going to get a single one of these kids. And after the clinic, 7 of them committed, So I think getting the players to campus, working with them one-on-one where they have the opportunity to get to know Katy and I better. I will say that we are what you see every day. Like, we don't change. We don't put on this like crazy face when we start to coach or whatever. Like, we are who we are. You can walk in our office and ask for help for anything. At the same time, like, we are very competitive people. And I think that, you know, when we want to succeed at something, whether it is making sure our team has the best GPA in the country, like, you know, we're going to try to get the best out of our student athletes academically and athletically.
Coach, you mentioned what it was like that rainy kind of cold day. Now that we have our very own stadium, old Moccasin Field, has that helped you with your recruiting?
I definitely think so. I think having our field on campus, not only the recruiting, but I just think the support for the current team is fantastic. When you are standing on the bench for a game and you look across the field and our stands are packed and the fence is completely lined with parents and students, you just have this great feeling because it's so enclosed, and the crowds are great for us. So being on campus where students can just stop by and see the game has helped a lot. At the same time, I think, you know, being able to see the field, how beautiful it is, it has absolutely helped for sure. But I'll tell you, we've never had student athletes who, I would say, they are not lured here by the glamour, right? Like, you can go to places and they will, you know, whatever they do to sell you and show you all the glamour. We have kids who work hard because they want to be great. It's not about the show of everything else. And that's, I think, hands down why we are successful, because they don't need that glamour to know how good that they are and can be against anybody in the country.
A great follow-up question. Now that you are a national champion and you have been runner-up and you've got a very successful program, does that make it easier for you to recruit some of the top players that you have?
Not necessarily. I don't think, you know, it doesn't just, you know, flow in easily. I would say the number of the talent that now emails us is greater than it was before. So I think our pool is bigger, but it's not necessarily that much easier. I think what people need to understand is what we do have to offer as far as a school, as a program, how you'll grow, just all of the benefits that you'll get out of being a part of our program, the team culture, our parents and our players and the families that are involved is, to me, the number one thing that I think we have the greatest of, far above the wins, is our team culture that I think is tremendous. And I know that girls who have transferred in here have thoroughly enjoyed their college careers far better from maybe where they came from.
And I'd piggyback off of that with, you know, like Coach said, we're getting emails from, you know, really, really talented athletes. And I think, you know, we are in a position where we're now competing for recruits, not just against other Division II schools, but also against the Division I schools as well. So it's not as if we're competing against this limited pool of only the other schools in the Sunshine State Conference, but also, you know, Division I schools within the country, and really where players see the difference between the other schools they're looking at. And here is, like Coach said, it is that culture. It's playing on a team of people who really care about what they're trying to do and who really want to be the best they can be. And they want to see what that final product can look like as the best they can be, regardless of what division they say they're playing for.
Nice, thanks, Katie. Let's talk about some student athlete honors. 8 years, everybody's got to remember, 8 years the program's been in existence. 24 All-Americans. Katie Hammer was a 2-time Division II Goalie of the Year. Emily Santoli, a 2-time Midfielder of the Year. Sunshine State Player of the Year, a Sunshine State Attacker of the Year, Division II Player of the Year. The
That was
SSC.
Megan O'Brien, by the way. I know you were on Emily Santoli. I just want to make sure
Right,
that
yeah, I didn't.
of
You're
the
correct.
stud that Megan O'Brien was
Yeah,
too.
Megan O'Brien. You have Sam Kesey as the SSC Defender of the Year. Brianna Smith, Inside Lacrosse National Player of the Year watch list. You have Shannon Mazza and Abby Hammond named Yearly Reynolds Love Unsung Hero Award winners, 32 all SSC honorees, and 2 Freshmen of the Year from the Sunshine State in 8 years. I want to see another program that has anybody close to that. So that's an outstanding
I just
assessment.
want to give Sam Kesey some credit too, because she was WLCA Defender of the Year. So I am proud of all of those girls, because we have had a player in every single position named a Player of the Year for Division II, from the attack, midfield, defense, and goalie, as well as the Division II overall Player of the Year. So certainly a great tribute to those players for sure. And I actually, kind of talking about how well, like, you certainly talked about their accolades, but I want to talk about like that these kids came to work and they didn't come for the money. Like, I don't think there's one kid on that list who came for more. I'm trying to even think if any of them even came for $5,000 in athletic aid when they were a freshman. Like, I know Katy Hammer came for $1,000 and she was a 2-time goalie of the year. So I think that is something to be said about those kids, that they come and they are just hard workers and they earn their keep along the way. And Megan O'Brien, she was not even sure she could play college lacrosse. She wasn't sure she was good enough. We watched her play. We said, yes, come out for the team. Please play for us. Like, this will be great. You can make the team. Her best friend was coming to school here. So she's decided to come out for the team. And by her sophomore year, she was a starter for us and helped us win a national championship. So I think just, again, a tribute to the type of kids that come to Florida Southern.
And I would say the type of families as well. You mentioned families. I mean, they're not getting a lot of money. They're coming all the way to Florida Southern. Obviously families mean a lot to you and the alumni. How much do they mean to you as a program and a coach?
Oh, we can't be successful without them. We absolutely love our families. They have been of great support. I think a lot of the programs that we play against and the programs even at our school, like how our parents set up, a tailgate for our team after every single game. Our kids are fed. They can hang out with their families, whether we're home or away. I recall a game last year, we were away and the announcer was saying, is this their home game or is it ours? Because they have more fans than our team does. So we travel really well with our parents. I think it's important for our players to be able to engage with their parents after the games. They, travel a long way. They need to spend time with them and hang out with them. And I think how special our parents make our players feel. The year we won the national championship, we had a trip to Maryland and parents hosted our team for dinners and invited us into their homes and just did some really special things for our team to make all the players feel really important. And I think that without them, like, our players don't get all those little extra things where it just really puts it over the top for them to feel loved, because when you feel that way, you play a lot better.
Your parents, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, go ahead, Al, I'm sorry.
I was going to say your parents support you guys to no end. Talk a little bit about the tailgate after every game.
Well, we are fortunate enough that we started out from the get-go with that. As something I know that Marissa Braden was a player for us from Florida, whose mother, was an awesome tailgate parent for the very beginning. When our program started, handed it off to Shannon Gilfetter's mother, who's now handed it off to Allie Loudon's mom. So any parents on here who are from Florida, be ready, especially if your kid is younger, whether you're a freshman or the next couple years. But they do a great job. Like our parents really help out. They send out kind of a tailgate sign up, and parents will donate money to help, or they'll donate, you know, their availability to help set it up and tear it down. And we even have parents who are in charge of the apparel orders. So they started that out, where a parent will take orders for all of the parents to make sure they are outfitted in Florida Southern gear and representing the school everywhere they go. And we continue to have parents take those things over. It's a tremendous help for me. It's just something that I completely take off my plate. So I am very grateful for the support that they give us. And again, like without the relationship we have for our parents, it would be very difficult for us to be as successful.
I have to admit, if any of the food moms are on tonight, I have enjoyed working with all of you over the years and getting the post-game tailgate set up, and it's just been wonderful. It also creates some jealousy. Some of our other athletes, when they see the tailgate after the game, they want to know how come they don't get those. And when I explain to them it's their parents, they're almost blown away by the support that the parents show to your team. Mike, back to you.
Thanks, Al. Kara, when you're making your schedule up for a season and, the amount of success you've had in a short period of time, is it easy or is it harder to make that schedule with the type of competition you need to develop your team into another national championship run?
So when we first started, it was really easy. Everyone wanted to come and beat a brand new team. As soon as you start to win, it becomes a little bit more difficult. People want to make a trip to Florida, but they maybe don't want to lose. So the teams that I enjoy scheduling are the ones who are not afraid of the competition. Like we've had a variety of teams that we will compete, and it'll be a barn burner till the end, right? Like those teams aren't afraid, and we all know that it prepares both of us to see the stage at the national championship. And you've got some other coaches who know that they are going to maybe get crushed, but they also are of the mindset that says we have to play the best if we ever want to be the best. And so we'll be able to schedule those teams. So on any given year, it kind of depends on which coaches are coaching at which programs, as far as if our schedule is difficult to make or not. I want to play the best competition that we can play. Obviously our conference is the best in the country, and so we have that great competition, but I think it's important for us to experience competition outside our conference, because we could see them in the end.
I'm sorry, Mike. I have a follow-up question. Coach, what do you consider, or who do you consider your biggest rival?
I wouldn't necessarily say biggest rival, but I would say probably most enjoyable competition, because it is always a competition, is playing Adelphi. Like, I think that we play each other every single year, maybe in the beginning of the year, maybe at the end of the year. But we know going into that game, like, everyone is hyped, everyone is ready. Just, you never know which way it's going to go. And I think that for our student athletes, it usually starts our year out. Like, most of the time, it's one of the first few games of the year. And really just gives us a test on kind of where we are and where we need to develop. So we know kind of where we'll be at the end of the year. So I would say we thoroughly enjoy them. They're not afraid to schedule us. And so it's just a fantastic competition in the beginning of the season.
Great. Katy, quick question. You played at Adelphi. When you play Adelphi and you're now in the red and you are a Moc, deep down inside, is there still a little love for Adelphi?
I think it's more respect. So I know how hard that team works. They work, as hard as our team is working. Honestly, I would say there's a lot of pride in our players, especially when we played them this year. One of my old teammates is actually one of their assistants now. So to be able to hold them, to have our defense hold them scoreless for 48 minutes was a really amazing feeling, because I know how good they are, you know, and I think that made me even all the more proud of how our kids played, because I know how good it is. And I know that our girls are that well prepared that they went out and they executed and they played phenomenally, and they had no choice but to play phenomenally if they wanted to win that game. So just makes me excited.
Very good. Mike, back to you.
Thanks, Al. Katy, I have another question for you. When you talked about when you were coming to Florida Southern and when you offered the position, you talked about you working at clinics. What do the young ladies that attend the clinics think of Florida Southern? Are they intimidated by it? You know, how does that work when you're dealing with younger ladies?
So there's a couple things you see. So we actually have had a couple players through the club over the years who have ended up coming to Florida Southern. So Sarah Tomasello and Riley Bannatyne, two of our 2016s, were actually players of mine while they were in high school, who went on to come here before I ever came here. And we've had quite a few. We have Sophia, who's a 2019, or who was a Lex Maniacs 2019. We have Alexa Theander, who's a 2020, Gabriella Connolly, who's a 2020. And we see players come through the ranks here, and everyone falls in love with Florida Southern for something a little bit different. So for some of the kids, they played for a high school where they felt like their teammates didn't care. And they wanted a completely different experience in that. They wanted to go somewhere where they would have that opportunity to learn and grow and improve, and they would not show up as freshmen and be the best player on the field, because for most of their high school careers, that was what it was, and they felt like their teammates didn't care. Also at clinics, the other thing that we get feedback on all the time is just, you know, what kind of clinicians we are. So what kind of enthusiasm coach is bringing and what kind of clinician she is. So when you're doing camps and clinic style events, players are rotating through, you know, different coaches. So if we run clinics, we'll bring in a bunch of different coaches, and Coach Kara is always highly reviewed after the fact, and they love the energy. They love the way she coaches. They love the coaching points they receive. And I think that's one of the things that really spurs them on to really fall in love with Florida Southern, because they see the care that goes in, and then they show up on campus and they realize, oh, what they saw at that clinic is the same thing they're going to get every day. And then when they talk to our current players, they realize what I saw at that clinic is just who they are. It's not a show for recruits. It's not, you know, let me hype this kid up so that she comes here. That's just who we are. We are excited to go out and coach young lacrosse players. That's what we love to do. And I think it shows in clinics. And I think it's one of the reasons that girls love coming out, is because they know that that's the energy they're going to get at practice.
Thank you. Kara, we've talked a lot about the athletic accomplishments. What about academics? The young ladies that come play for you, do they come here for a reason academically? Is it strictly just for the lacrosse, or how can you expand on that?
So I need to look up what our exact team GPA is. I know it's somewhere above a 3.5, so probably in 3.5 to 3.7 range. We have been the #1 team in Division II academically for women's lacrosse. We've also probably been in the top 3 multiple times. We have always, every single year in existence, we have been an IWLCA all academic team. But the #1 thing is, for me, we need to have their major, and it needs to be something that they're interested in, and whatever major it is, we allow them to play. I think there are a lot of schools that do not allow student athletes to take certain majors, and they require a specific schedule, those types of things, and we don't. We want you to major in what you want to have a job in the future. Nursing probably being the #1 major that schools will not allow, that we do allow, and has also we've had almost a player graduate every single year through nursing. And not this past year, but the year before, we had 4 players. 2 of our All-Americans go through the nursing program. We've had actually multiple All-Americans who went through the nursing program. So obviously they're very strong academically as well as athletically. So being a competitor, I mean, if you're a true competitor, you're a competitor on the field, but you're also a competitor in the classroom.
Great, guys. I do notice there's a lot of nursing majors that come through, not only your program, but other athletic programs here at Southern. It seems to be a big draw. Al, do you have any further questions that have come in at this time?
Oh, we've got several actually. First one is from Brian, and he wants to know, how is the morale of the team during the COVID situation?
I mean, I can't say that I can fully speak for all the players because it's hard to know really deep down how everyone's feeling. Unfortunately, I don't have my psychology degree, although I feel like I am a psychologist at times. But I think, you know, we're all hanging in there. It's not the easiest thing, but we try to find the good in what we can. So we really are just trying our best to hang in there and to really have hope that things will improve and things will get better.
Very good. From Professor Emeritus, Dr. Plowman. Welcome to the show this evening, Dr. Plowman.
Hi, Dr. Plowman. Am I going to get any apples this fall? Yeah, I know you can't come in the building, but I will meet you somewhere so I can have my North Carolina apples that you bring every year.
We'll see if he answers that in the chat.
All right.
First of all, he does want to thank you for all the times that you've gone into his class and lectured. But he also wants to know if you have an update on a couple of the players, Megan, Emily, Ashley, and Shauna.
So does he have last names? Because we have had a lot of Megans go through the program.
Well, you know, I was thinking the same thing when I was reading that there are several that have been through.
Yeah. I think he said Katy in there. And see, we've had multiple Katys, but I think Katy Hammer went through because I think she was the one, she actually came and spoke with me in his class. She is living in England. Katy Hammer was a 2-time Division II goalie of the year for us. She actually came from my school that I ended up coming from to come here. So she's living in England, and she was made the finalist to be on the England national team to play in the World Cup. And I know that's still a goal of hers, and she's right there. And I think, you know, with COVID hitting kind of was difficult, but she will absolutely be somebody who we could potentially see on the roster when they get the World Cup.
Great. Here's another question. We know that you are very competitive, both on and off the field, and especially when it comes to intramural sports. And not long ago, about 2 weeks ago, you were involved in a tennis tournament of which it was you versus Sophia. You beat Sophia. Sophia wants to know, or Sophia doesn't want to know. We want to know, do you feel that Sophia realized toward the end that she was beating her coach and decided that was a bad idea?
No. I think Sophia's mom's probably on here. So I will say that hands down, now I had to beat multiple of our players to get to the championship. Hands down. And I told Sophia after the game, I said, Sophia, I will never play you again. And she was wondering why. And I said, because I had no right to beat you. I absolutely, you are hands down the better player. And I should not have won. I did win, and I'll never play you again because I'm going out on top. I think it really came down to tennis is a mental game, hands down, totally mental. And I will use my gray hair, wrinkles, and age to say that I played a better mental game than Sophia. But I still love her. And we're super competitive. Why? Because we are floor hockey champions. We consider ourselves the reigning champions because we didn't get to play last year. We will win floor hockey again, hands down. And we always compete. I think our team honestly makes cuts for volleyball. So you better be good at volleyball or you're getting cut from intramural volleyball. Basketball is highly competitive. And I think last year they won trivia. The goal this year is to have a banner in the rec center that says women's lacrosse is the all sports intramural champion.
That would be awesome.
We're currently in first place, mind you. So participated in the tennis tournament, the swim meet, and I think we will be competing in the punt kick pass coming up soon.
Awesome. Katy, I think you can probably answer this question from Carly. She wants to know what a typical day is like for a Florida Southern women's lacrosse player.
Sure. It depends on what time of the year it is. So for an 8-hour weeks, 15-hour weeks, or 20-hour weeks. So depending on, so if we're in the fall, what it would look like is they will have lift 3 days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 o'clock. They will either have an individual later, kind of right now it looks like an individual in the afternoon, or once we get into practices, they'll see practices in those afternoon times. We also throw in yoga once a week. And last year we also had run club on Tuesday mornings. So depending on the day, you could have lift and a practice, or you could have run club and a practice, or you could just have one. It depends on the time of year. Once we get into the spring, you see a similar schedule, but we'll also add in a little bit of film.
Great. I've got another question from Dawn. Does returning to school toward the end of January affect your preparation for your potential upcoming season?
First of all, I just want to say, okay, Sophia, I love you to pieces. So know that we love you, okay? It's all out of love, not my question. Sorry, somebody submitted it, but I still love you. Okay, so as far as for our season, certainly we get started a couple weeks later than normal. It will really come down to our players and what they do for their training in the off season. We won't have that entire month to prepare to get ready. So this will be the time where they have to come in shape and ready to go, because we don't have that length of time to get ready. But at the same time, because we're starting school at the end of January, maybe we're not starting our first game until the beginning of March. Honestly, I think I saw it came up, somebody asked about our schedule. We don't have a schedule yet. We don't know what that looks like. We had one last like March, we had a schedule, but things need to be adjusted, and we're just kind of waiting to figure out where we go with that direction. So even though, everything could be pushed back a month for us anyways, but we'll be ready. Everybody will do their part and we'll be ready to rock it.
You've basically answered this question from Anonymous. But Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous wants to know, are you worried about facing the competition in the spring, especially from those schools that have had more practice time than you?
No, I mean, sure, you can, touch a lacrosse ball a lot more, or you can run a lot more. I think we just want to enjoy each other right now. And I think sometimes, like, a team that gets along and a team that has good chemistry, in the end, we'll prepare them for where they need to be, regardless of the amount of time that we have with them. And we'll be able to get to where we need to be, because we have a lot of talented kids, but at the same time, like, they like being around each other, and that's really what's important.
Along that same line, I have a comment from one of the parents. Won't mention a name. My daughter is a transfer, and I would like to thank the program and the parents for welcoming her, and that she is thrilled to be at Florida Southern College. One of your players wants to know who has the fastest 100-yard sprint. Somehow I have a feeling it's the person that asked the question, but that's beside the point.
I think I know who asked the question, and I know you're watching. Sorry, it is not you. But here's another funny story where she wants to know my fastest time. Well, here, I'll tell you my funny story, because when we were at a junior journey in Italy, I think Emily Santoli is probably one of the fastest players we've ever had in the program. And I was totally joking with her, and we were crossing the crosswalk, and I raced her to the other side, and she kind of didn't know she was racing me, but I beat her, and she never got over it. And so every day she would try to challenge me to race her in practice. And we never got to that race. I told her she'd have to let me start at the 50-yard line. She was always willing to let me do that. Start at the 50-yard line, she would start at the end line, and she still said she could beat me. I really didn't want to pull a hamstring or anything. Didn't want to make her look bad, so we never officially raced. I have no idea what my 100-yard sprint is. Come on, Molly, I'm old. I'm playing tennis these days, not running.
Question from Kenzie wants to know, what changes would you like to see in the women's lacrosse world?
Katy, I'll let you field that question.
So I love the new rules. I love the shot clock. I love the free movement. And really, I'm excited to see the way the style of the game is played start to transition to really start to work with those rules. So I think when I was in college, my first 2 years, we didn't have free movement. So the game was pretty stop and start, and the style of play reflected that. So you had very specific role players in the attacking end or the defending end, because you didn't really have to be a two-way player. The whistle would blow, you'd have a chance to stop, catch your breath before you had to go again. Worked really well for me. I look at the way the game is now, and with things like free movement and that shot clock, it has really created a lot more athletes. So you see raw athletes really now thriving because they can now think off the ball. So in the way in soccer, when the ball goes out of bounds, you keep running, you keep moving. And it's cool to see how those athletes and how those heads up players are now adjusting to those new rules. And I think we'll start to see different styles of offense and different styles of defense start to come about to, you know, really change the way the game is played. So now you don't need to worry about a team that's going to stall for 12 minutes when they're up by 1. Instead, they have 90 seconds. So you can either choose to wait them out as a defensive unit, or you can choose to really put the pressure on them to be perfect within that time and generate a shot. So I love seeing how the game is starting to move faster and faster because of that. And it really challenges the way we think about our offense, the way we think about our defense, and our transition game. So I'm really excited to see, you know, where it keeps going and how the game starts to become more and more innovative because of the new rules.
Awesome. 2 more questions, Coach, that I've gotten. One, we've discussed your competitiveness. You still play competitive ice hockey. The question is, does playing ice hockey help you as a coach and strategizing for lacrosse?
I will say that the one thing that it's really helped me a lot is playing on my all-women's team and playing on a travel team for that, because it really gives me an insight onto what could be going on in the locker room, into what the different players' mindsets are on as far as who's playing over who, or how the relationships are working, those types of things. It's kind of really clued me into that. Even myself, you know, having our coach and how I know, you know, what the coach could do to say to, you know, get something better out of me or better out of the team, those types of things. Like, I think it's given me a lot of insight on that. Things that, you know, when you step away from playing team sports after college, that you don't necessarily can think about. And so I think that's something that has helped recently for sure.
Coach, I've gotten a couple of questions actually on what's your recruiting process like, and if they are a high school lacrosse player, how do they go about finding information about potentially playing at Florida Southern?
Well, I think 2 things are important. Well, maybe more than 2. I don't know how many I'll say. Filling out our online questionnaire to get into the system is very important. Certainly prefer that student athletes do that so that we don't have to input all that information because we don't know it. And there's a link on our website that you can do that. Sending us an email, and at this time, an email with a clip of film is highly important. we will not recruit solely off of film. There are coaches that will do that, but for us, we need to see players in person. Players who can get to campus, show a high level of interest in our school. If they've, gotten themselves here, they're ones that we'll consider more than ones who have not been here. And attending a camp or clinic that we are running, because that way we have hands-on time with them to see how they are, how they can be coached, and kind of what they look like against some other top talent in the country.
Very good. Coach, I do have one more thing that I've been asked to do with you. And that is that on many of our video streams, we do a thing called rapid fire, where I ask you a bunch of questions quickly, and you have to say the first thing that comes to your mind.
It's like Family Feud, the final questions.
Yeah, kind of.
Awesome at it, and sometimes the buzzer will go off and I will be stumped. So we'll see.
All right. Are you ready?
I'll try my best.
We'll start off easy. What's your favorite food?
Mexican.
What's your favorite movie?
Ooh. Probably Youngblood. It's a hockey movie.
Favorite sport?
Ice hockey.
What's your favorite pro team?
Pro team? Buffalo Sabres.
And which one is your favorite child? No, don't answer that. You'll get in trouble. What's your favorite movie or music that you like to listen to?
I actually surprisingly like Christian music is probably the thing that calms me a lot and gives me a lot of peace. And you can do it too, so it's awesome.
All right. Offense or defense? Which wins lacrosse games?
Defense.
And last but not least, are you a mountain person or a beach person?
Gosh, that's a really, really tough question. It honestly is, and I probably have to say mountain. Don't worry, I'm not leaving Florida. We have a cabin in the mountains, so I'm good there. But I like snow for a weekend, but that's it. I love the sunshine. I love the warm weather. Don't ever want to shovel a driveway again. Having the sun is fantastic for mental health, and to get outside and run every day is awesome. So I'll go to the beach too, but I like vacation, Al. I'll go anywhere.
Speaking about that, this is the last one. You do like to travel. What is the one place that you want to visit that you haven't had the opportunity to visit yet?
Boy, probably, one that I probably will be tough to get to would be probably like Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, those types of islands over there, because you need like weeks to be able to not be exhausted while you're over there or coming back.
Awesome. Mike, back to you. The questions are done.
Well, so are mine. So unfortunately, I want to thank everyone for their attendance tonight for our conversation with women's lacrosse. Especially want to thank Coach Reber and Coach Richardson for their time here. Also want to thank once again our sponsor, NFocus Studios. Their goal is to deliver a message that brands your company in a positive light and drives business to your door. Also want to make mention that every Wednesday in the athletic program, a different sport takes over the Florida Southern College Mocs Instagram account. So pay specific attention to that. It's neat to see this young student athletes take over that. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for their attendance. Look forward to the next one, and go Mocs.
Thank
Go
you.
Mocs. Bye, everybody.